Hi, it's so good to be here. Thank you very much. My name is Ohr Margalit. I'm the head of the Biblical Studies Department, but also in charge of um, eradicating racism and partnership living in the campus. And The project was a huge opportunity from my point of view, having Love.Distance. We at the same time as the at the beginning of the project, we started a new course called Eradicating Racism, and since the topic an excellent opportunity. Um, so the idea of having to pay attention to who the students are and what their different problems are, and how we relate to each student or each group of students and the various cultures in on campus and off campus when we're teaching online was really the thing that allowed the two topics to connect. And we we made the connection using first of all just asking the students, which isn't something we usually do in courses. A course is set, the syllabus is set. You come in, you tell the students, or you send off online what the students have to do, and you try to figure out where they're at to begin with. But that's about it usually. And here we were suddenly having to think about what the students' needs were, what the different students' needs were, and where they were coming from. And we thought, what better than asking the students what their needs would be? This was basically one of the first steps we did, and what we found even then the first time was really amazing because. Um, First of all, we got an idea of how students wanted to learn, whether they wanted to learn things by watching videos. By the way, yes, of course. Did they want to read? Some of them did. Did they want the material to be in languages other than Hebrew? And once again, yes, some of them did. Whether they would prefer to work in groups or separately, very diverse answers to that question. But other than that information, and the information about where they studied, whether they had a space at home to study, whether they had a computer or didn't have a computer, all things that it seems most of the students did have. But the very fact that we asked them what they were interested in and what they needed in order to study obviously made a very big difference. And a lot of them said, wow, this is the first time anyone has ever asked me, and we're so happy that you asked. So since then, we've run the course 3 times, and we've decided that is a must. At the beginning of each course, we ask the students what their needs are, and um, this past semester was the 3rd time, so we could anticipate most of the answers, but still they were very happy to have been asked. And some of the things, there were things that we had to figure out for specific students. So that is something that we really learned a lot from, and we're very happy to have the opportunity. Another feature very well is that we've used a documentary series in order to get the students into the subject matter. We used a documentary series where students watched a series about racism in Israel. They usually are very, about 50% of them are very shocked to find how much racism there is, and the other 50% are, well, what's new, but at least suddenly people are talking about it. And after they watch the series whenever they want, from wherever they want, in whatever translation into whatever language they want. We meet with people from the series and have a discussion with them, and that's turned out to be also a very, very strong feature of the course. Um, I guess if I had to say one place where we're really still learning, we've learned lots of things, and every year we've gotten better and better. One of the surprising things to me, anyway, is that how much the technical side does make a difference. And when we ask the students at the end of the course how things went, we can see that those little technical glitches that you think, well, whatever, they'll figure it out, or they'll call us, because we do make sure to have just about everywhere we can our email addresses, and we encourage them to call and all that. But no, it turns out that having things work smoothly technically is a huge, huge thing. But the thing that I was going to say that we're still really trying to figure out is the question of how to get the students to work in groups in the best way possible. And what I mean is that what we've learned is that working in diverse groups really allows the students to grow and allows them to change their minds and learn how to engage with people that are different from them. On the one hand, when it works, but when it doesn't work, it does exactly the opposite. What we have done is made the choice up to them. So, as opposed to other courses where they have to work in groups or they're not allowed to work in groups, here they get to choose whether they work in groups or separately. Everyone's very happy about that, in other words, the students, but we still feel that we're missing something, and we would like to figure out how to get them to cooperate, to get everyone to cooperate, not only those who choose and probably have some positive thoughts about it in advance, and we feel we're missing something there. Is there anything else I should
say? It was very all the question I wanted to ask you. You were answering in the next session, which is very good. Um, how did how the participation in the project enhance your as a teacher, enhance your skills as a teacher?
um, the having to go through this process and really pay attention to what was going on from the point of view of each student and the various groups, and all this thought that was put into it, and the systems that were put into place really affected all the courses I teach. There is at least one course that where I implement practically everything. And that is actually a course that we're doing jointly with other academic colleges, both an Arab academic college in Israel, and together with academic colleges abroad, where we're virtually implementing all the same techniques. And even in other courses that are quite different, like face-to-face courses, a lot of the things that I've learned, I implement in those courses, like making sure to look at the calendar and know what various students are celebrating when, and make sure to mention holidays or different cultures, and bring their identities into the class. That's a very big one. But also technical issues, and making sure that they can reach the materials they need to reach, and be able to have choice between different types of assignments, whether you know if it's the types of sources that they have to read, or whether it's reading or watching something or listening to something, and responding in different ways. So I try to make sure that they have a choice. They don't always have to write things. If they write, they can write in different languages. and that they'll always be able to, at least several times during the course, choose to do other things like take a picture, a video, hand in a creative assignment instead of something that traditionally we would think of as more academic. Of course, it still is academic, and I think that we all just gain from this.